My mother handed me an invoice. $1 million for raising me. That's the night everything changed. The night success turned into silence. I'm Danielle Thompson, 32 years old, founder of a healthcare tech company I built from scratch. Growing up, love always came with conditions. But I never imagined it would come with a price tag. She looked me in the eye and said, "It's the least you owe me." 8 years later, I saw her again, not at a gala, but on a cold Seattle street. A cardboard sign trembling in her hands, the woman who demanded payment, now begged for mercy. If love ever came with strings, you're not alone. Love doesn't send invoices. I grew up in a perfect house. White fence, roses in straight lines, Seattle skies that always looked polite. But inside, love had rules. Affection came with receipts. Gratitude was expected, not felt. Until I was 7, things seemed normal. Dad read bedtime stories. Mom smiled for neighbors. Then one morning, I heard shouting, "I can't do this anymore, Sandra." Dad's voice, the soft man breaking. Her answer was ice. "Then leave." He did. And Mom turned to me. "Your father abandoned us. It's just you and me now." I stared at the empty driveway, waiting for taillights that never came back. The silence that followed became a second parent, cold, watchful, and impossible to please. When I earned an A, she said, "You get your brains from me. A B+. That's your father's laziness." If I wanted new shoes, I first got a lecture. "Do you know how much these cost?" Every kindness came wrapped in guilt. Every gift was a favor to repay. When relatives sent birthday money, it vanished into a college fund I never saw. Soccer practice stopped. Too much praise from the coach. Not enough for her. Home wasn't home anymore. It was a contract I never signed. School became my sanctuary. Grades were my ticket out. And Mrs. Lawson, my English teacher, was the first to notice. "You can stay here after class," she said softly. No charge. In her classroom, silence didn't punish me. It healed me. I didn't know it then. But her kindness became the blueprint for every real connection I built after. In my house, everything had a price, even love. By the time I turned 18, silence had become my armor. Every word at home was a test I could fail. So I studied instead. Grades were my currency, and freedom was the prize. When my acceptance letter from Stanford arrived, I hid it for 3 days. I'd used Mrs. Lawson's address, afraid Mom would intercept the mail. Full scholarship. My golden ticket out. When I finally showed her, she performed the role perfectly. "Stanford, my daughter, the genius." She called relatives immediately. All my sacrifices finally paid off. Then she looked at me, voice like sugar hiding steel. "You know, you couldn't have done this without me." I smiled. The first lie I told her as an adult. The summer before college was torture. Each box I packed came with guilt. Who will take care of the house? Have you thought about how selfish this looks? By August, I slept with my acceptance letter under my pillow, afraid she'd find a way to keep me. Move-in day felt like escaping orbit. She drove the 6 hours in silence, then charmed everyone on campus, the perfect mother on display. When she left, she leaned close. "Call me every day. Remember who got you here." I promised I would, and broke that promise the next morning. College felt unreal. No guilt, no rehearsed apologies. Just air. Real, breathable air. Still, her shadow followed. Every missed call triggered a rush of fear. Every voicemail began the same. "So this is how success sounds? Forgetting your mother?" I learned to ration conversations like oxygen. Short, polite, empty. Never too warm. Never too long. Then came Professor Kim. Brilliant, calm, unafraid of silence. She read my code and saw me, not my resume. "You have a gift," she said. "But more than that, you have clarity. Protect it." For the first time, I felt seen without a price attached. That night, my phone buzzed. "Mom." I watched it ring, then let it go dark. The quiet that followed wasn't guilt. It was freedom, raw and terrifying. Under her mentorship, I found a kind of validation that didn't demand repayment. By senior year, I was building something of my own. A health tech prototype born from late nights and ramen. Ryan, a grad student, believed in it, believed in me. Together, we built a startup from the floor up. Mom called it a phase, but each call hurt less. Each silence after felt lighter. I was learning that freedom isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet after no. I stopped asking for permission and started practicing peace. The night of the acquisition felt like the end of every sleepless year. Champagne, applause. The room glittered with congratulations and relief. Connect Team Health. Sold for $80 million. We'd done it. I'd done it. Then I saw her. Sandra, my mother, in a dress too formal for the occasion, a smile too sharp to be love. "There's my brilliant daughter," she announced, cutting through the crowd like she owned the room. I froze, my pulse echoing louder than the music. Guests smiled politely. They saw a proud mother. I saw a storm I'd spent years escaping. She hugged me for the cameras, then whispered, "We need to talk, alone." In my office, the mask slipped immediately. Her eyes scanned the space, assessing, measuring. "You didn't think to invite your own mother?" I tried diplomacy. "It's been hectic, Mom. I was going to call tomorrow." She sat in my chair, a power move she'd perfected years ago. "I've been doing some math," she said. "Do you know what it costs to raise a gifted child?" My stomach dropped. She unfolded a paper, an itemized bill. Science camps, tutors, emotional labor. A total circled in red ink, $1,000. "Give me this," she said evenly. "It's the least you owe me." I couldn't breathe, couldn't blink. "Mom, that's not how family works." She tilted her head. "Family? Don't talk to me about family after what you've done." "I'm willing to help," I said quietly. "I'll cover your taxes, your expenses, but I won't hand you $1 million. Her eyes narrowed. "So that's your decision? To humiliate me? After I gave you everything?" I shook my head. "You gave me life. I gave it meaning." The room went still. For a second, I thought she might understand. Then she smiled. Sharp, cruel. "Then you're no longer my daughter." The words hit harder than any slap. She stood, grabbed her purse, and left without looking back. Outside, laughter filled the hall again. Inside, I sank into my chair. The same seat she'd claimed as her throne minutes earlier. The champagne on my desk had gone flat, bubbles fading, like the version of me that still needed her. Through the glass walls, I saw celebration, lights, people cheering, and I felt nothing but clarity. For once, I wasn't buying peace with guilt. I was earning freedom with truth. Michael found me, eyes full of worry. "She asked for $1 million, I said, and my voice cracked. "For raising me." He reached for my hand. No one should have to buy their mother's love. That night, I didn't celebrate. I sat in the dark office, watching her signature still burning in my mind. That night, I paid her debt in full, by refusing to owe her anything again. The celebration ended hours ago, but the echo of my mother's voice still filled every corner of that office. I drove home in silence, the city lights smearing into lines through my tears. For years, I had fought to earn her love. Now I had refused to buy it, and I didn't know whether to feel proud or orphaned. For 2 days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her standing there, that red-inked paper between us, like a final invoice for my childhood. When I finally walked into Dr. Martinez's office, my voice barely worked. "She asked for $1 million, I said. "Not as a gift, as payment." Dr. Martinez leaned forward, calm as always. "You're grieving," she said, "but not the mother you lost, the mother you wanted to have." The words cracked something open. Grief and relief wrestled inside me like siblings. I'd always believed cutting contact meant being a bad daughter. Now I was learning it could also mean survival. Over the next weeks, Sandra did what she always did. Calls, messages, threats. She told relatives I'd abandoned her, that I'd stolen her sacrifice and replaced it with success. A few believed her. Others quietly stopped asking questions. At work, I smiled through investor meetings, signed documents, celebrated numbers that meant nothing. At night, I replayed her words, wondering if I really had become heartless, or if I was finally becoming whole. My therapist called it reprogramming, undoing a lifetime of conditional love. Each boundary was a brick in the wall, between who I was and who she made me think I had to be. I started journaling again, writing letters I'd never send. Some began with "Dear Mom," others just started with silence. When I told Michael what happened, he didn't try to fix it. He just sat beside me until the sobbing stopped, and said the simplest thing anyone ever told me. "You don't owe her peace at the cost of your own." So I stopped apologizing for healing. I hired a lawyer to manage her support through a trust. No more direct money, no more manipulation. It wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. For months, guilt still whispered in my sleep, but slowly its voice faded. In its place came stillness, the quiet I'd been chasing my whole life. I built a life from the ashes she left. Every success felt quieter without her voice in it. But peace, I learned, doesn't need applause, just the courage to stand alone. I thought that was the end of our story. I was wrong. 8 years later, on a rainy street in Seattle, I saw my mother again, and this time, she was the one asking for help. 8 years later, I was back in Seattle, a city that still smelled like rain and memory. The conference had ended early. For the first time in years, I had no agenda, no deadline waiting for me to chase. I drove past the house where I'd grown up. The shutters were different, but the ghosts were the same. I didn't stop. Downtown, drizzle turned to mist. People hurried by in coats and earbuds, faces blurred by rain and indifference. That's when I saw her, a woman in a doorway, wrapped in layers of mismatched clothes, a cardboard sign resting beside her. I might have walked past, but something in the tilt of her head stopped me cold. Sandra, my mother. For a moment, the world went silent. The hum of traffic faded. It was just her, and the years between us collapsing like paper. She didn't recognize me at first. Her eyes were fogged, her hands trembling as she reached for the coffee I offered. "Bless you," she whispered, words I'd never heard from her lips before. I sat down beside her, the wet concrete soaking through my coat. "Do you have somewhere warm to go?" I asked. She shrugged. "Sometimes. Depends on the shelter." Then she looked at me again. "You look familiar," she said, brows knitting together. "It's Danielle," I answered softly. "Your daughter." Recognition flickered, then shame. "My Danielle," she murmured. And even now, that possessive tone still carried control. "What happened, Mom?" I asked. The trust was there. "You had everything you needed." She sighed. "I didn't need your charity." Then quieter. "I sold the house. Someone said they'd invest the money. He disappeared." Her story unraveled in fragments. Losses, bad luck, pride. All the things she once used to wound me, now turned against her. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. "Come with me," I said. "I'll arrange help, but it'll go through the trust like before." She frowned, defensive even in defeat. "So you're helping me, but only on your terms?" "Yes," I said, "because those are the only terms that keep us both safe." Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe time had softened her edges. She nodded. "Do what you think is right." That night, I checked her into a hotel and called the care coordinator who'd once managed her trust. This time she accepted. Months later, she lived in an assisted facility, stable, medicated, sometimes remembering me, sometimes not. During one video call, she looked at me and said, "You built a good life, Danielle." Coming from her, it was a miracle. I smiled. "Yeah, Mom, I did." But the truth was simpler. I hadn't built it despite her. I'd built it after her. Because healing isn't about winning. It's about finally laying down the fight. Some storms don't end in thunder. They end in quiet, and the courage to walk away without hate. If you've ever had to set boundaries with someone you love, know this. You can be kind and firm, loving and free. Have you ever had to choose peace over guilt? Tell me in the comments. And remember, your worth was never meant to be measured in debt.